Toughen up your knuckle.
Are you okay with not saying no, that they have to undo it, like just moving forward with what I just suggested?
Get the work done.
That's what I was, that's
And
what
then
I was, then having a really like seriously.
I got a big pile of green foot.
Everybody hires.
Back down the
Yes.
hole.
It's not
Where you
the
at?
term for students.
We will.
The departments have a
Oh, this one.
Yeah,
thing to follow.
yeah.
You know,
You ever go to Wazika? The guy. Old builder told me to be down there, not take the maid out to get him and then start planning that.
Thank you for letting me that.
It'll be a lower copy.
yeah.
Like, I didn't have anything to write with, so I was like, I sort of remembered, but I was like.
Gonna have to write it down anyway.
Oh, this is demographics. of-
Call the January 2024 meeting, of the Richland County Finance and Personnel Committee to order. Mr. Derek, Mr. Kalis, would you take a roll, please?
Carroll.
Here.
Brewer.
Here.
Buck.
Here.
Manning. Here. Gotcho. Turk. Turk.
It's on mine.
Okay.
Everybody.
Cooey
So online.
and Fleming.
Here.
Okay, you have.
Mr. Cooey and Mr. Turk, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, then you are here. We just took roll and didn't hear from you, so,
Sorry, I had some noise on my end.
okay. We didn't hear from Mark either, so. All right, we have quorum. We have notification, proper notification. We have a 13-point agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve. Mr. Manning, seconded by Susie Fleming. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. December 5th meetings, you look those over. If there are no additions, subtractions, or changes, Mr. Carroll.
Regarding the minutes for the employee uniform allowance, I wasn't clear on whether we were sunsetting the wording was clearly.
Okay. Someone want to tackle that?
An explanation or?
Well, I'm going to have Derek read the minutes.
Sure. So the whole, in its entirety, Administrator Pesh reviewed the current practices relating to the employee uniform allowance and noted the taxable nature of these purchases. Sheriff Porter stated that this item was reviewed at the last Public Safety Standing Committee, and the decision on how to manage employee uniform allowances was left open to accommodate whatever process worked best for those involved. Discussion occurred regarding the method used to account for and track employee uniform purchases. Administrator Pesh offered a few different ways to manage the employee uniform allowance process. Motion by Turk, second by Cooey, to approve $250 taxable payouts on 6/1/2024 and 12/1/2024 and sunset current employee uniform allowance on 1/1/2025. Motion carried and item forward to county board for full approval.
Okay.
So it's
what
done.
part of that?
That's for everyone,
No, just for these two.
but that's not what it says.
I can clarify for clerical secretarial staff is,
Right.
okay, I can amend them.
We'll make a change. I know we discussed it.
So I will add.
So we need to make that an amendment. It should be amended.
Are you making a motion?
I think he's making the
All
motion
right.
to amend and I'll second it.
And you second?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of amending the prior meeting minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now I'll take a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting as amended. So. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a public comment section. Anyone care to spout on. Or make a public comment, right? We'll move down to number 7, discussion and possible action. A resolution authorizing the Joint Ambulance Committee to purchase a used ambulance to replace its oldest ambulance. We have resolution wording.
There is a resolution, it's number 7 in your packet, and I believe Ms. Birch is here to go over this.
Thank
So, the Joint Ambulance Committee took action to approve, and then obviously for you guys to approve the purchase of Muscaday's ambulance. They were able to replace their ambulance with a new one that was partially funded through grant funding. So their new one cost $230,000. The goal with our service, we've been trying to get new ambulances that are actually used ambulances that we can re-chassis the back. So if you think of an ambulance, you can consider it essentially 2 parts. You've got the chassis and you've got the patient compartment. So you've got the front where the driver is, the engine, all of those kinds of components. And then you've got the back where the patient is, the medical equipment is, that kind of stuff. So as a cost saving effort, we have tried to ensure that we are purchasing ambulances that we can simply re-chassis the box, the patient compartment. So in this situation, we would be spending $29,000 is what we've agreed upon with Muscaday, which is, the market for ambulances right now is really, really inconsistent and constantly in flux because there are a lot of services that are doing this. So we've agreed with them and their fire board approved to sell us their old ambulance for $29,000. So we can consider that would save us a couple $100,000 in the end. Once we get to a point, the ambulance itself is still very functional. There's no known mechanical issues with it. There are a few things that we're going to do to ensure the longevity of that chassis, and then we would be able to re-chassis that in a number of years, and re-chassising costs. I think the most recent estimate we had seen was about 6 months ago, and that was about $60,000. So
Just putting a new truck under the box.
essentially, yep. So yeah, that would be, that's what our goal is with this ambulance. So that's why we're looking at purchasing this used ambulance from Muscaday. The box on this ambulance is a nice blend of the 2 trucks that we currently have existing that are re-chassisable. It would be replacing the 1 truck we have in service. So we've got 3 trucks for those who aren't aware. The 3rd truck, our oldest, is a 2003, and it is not a style that would be able to be re-chassis, which is why we need to replace it. That one also has shown a lot of wear over the last few years. We've got some rust issues and things like that, whereas the ambulance that we'll be purchasing from Muscaday is has no signs of rust issues really, and it drives incredibly smoothly. It seems like it would be a great replacement for that 2003 that we have. So the Joint Ambulance Committee recommended to you guys to.
And I think
What is the year of this?
It's 2006, and I do not remember what the mileage is on it.
okay, and I think there was a resolution prepared.
Yes, there should be one
It's
in
in
our
our
packet.
Get to it.
And this is for getting your funds.
Do you have any questions, committee?
Yes, so she had asked if it was going to be, with what funds it was going to be paid for through. So the Joint Ambulance Committee had budgeted to replace it's Unit 34 is what we refer to it as. We budgeted for that replacement. It would come out of the Joint Ambulance. We have a segregated account, it's Fund 16. We've got more than $40,000 in that account at this point in time. So we'd be able to purchase this ambulance and do the maintenance that we would need to do, getting some of the equipment moved over, that kind of stuff, with the funds that already exist in that.
Muscaday got a grant. How come we didn't get a grant?
So we got the grant, but we had put it toward people. So a lot of the services had, we had the option to write this grant for any number of things. I think Casanova put it toward equipment. So there were a number of different ideas or areas that you could apply that funding toward. We recognized that we could utilize those funds to pay for some the casual call-in positions to be able to have more consistently a backup crew, which would allow for us to do more transfers and respond to more backup calls. That was the primary area that we needed more assistance than a new ambulance at that point, especially considering there was going to be some measure of match we would probably have to accommodate for. And we weren't as desperate for a new ambulance as we were for people. People is always going to be the area we need most.
Thank you. Mr. Manning?
So the old one you probably put on Wisconsin surplus, I'm guessing?
I anticipate that would probably be what we'll do. The Joint Ambulance Committee didn't vote for that piece yet. That would be at their next meeting, I would anticipate. The previous ambulance that we had gotten rid of was sold through Wisconsin surplus.
Any idea what you think you might get?
Again, the market for ambulances, used ambulances is all over the board. I don't think that this would be one that a person would purchase to put back into play as far as an ambulance, but there are people who are taking ambulances and flipping them for campers. There are the old Unit 35 was sold to somebody who was going to use it for a maintenance vehicle, to be able to haul their equipment to tools, that kind of thing.
These are diesel.
Yes, yep, visiting.
Mobile storage units.
I've already had one. I know how nice they are. They look very well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I thank you.
I make a motion.
Well, you're making a motion to approve purchase and to pass the resolution on to the county boards.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second? Julie, did you second?
I think Steve did.
Steve seconded.
Do we need to have Derek read it?
We can.
So it'll be a first by Manning, a second by Williamson to approve the purchase of the ambulance and then forwarding the resolution authorizing the Joint Ambulance Committee to purchase the used ambulance to replace its oldest ambulance to county board. So the resolution before you will go to county board.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. Send it to the board. Thank you. That explanation. You can stay if you want.
Gotta get to city council, our presentation to them.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. Takes us down to number 8. Discussion and possible action, approve letter of engagement from Johnson Block for 23 county audit services.
So this is a standard engagement letter we get from Johnson and Block at this time every year. That it's just your approval for them to do the audit services that they have been doing historically for us for a very long time now.
Which is required.
Correct. They do all of our
Function.
reporting audits, all of our audits. So it's the auditors as we call them. So that's pretty standard routine what we do.
I can't think of his name, but he gives that exciting,
Bill Moyley.
Bill gives that exciting review.
Correct. Right. So this is for those services.
Missed that. Okay, something we do. I'll take a motion. Mr. Carroll.
Second.
A second, Ms. Fleming. All those in favor, forwarding to the board, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, got it. Discussion and possible action, approval of parks, trails, and maintenance technician position. I'll call on Administrator Cash.
So part of the transitioning of services, as we've been talking about out at the fairgrounds, is transitioning parks, trails, and recycling under the Public Works umbrella and leaving the fair as a standalone committee that will focus entirely and solely on the fair. As those discussions happened, the committee also really liked the idea of creating a shared position that would cover parks, trails, and some maintenance. So this would not only deal with the fairgrounds, with the trails and parks mowing, upkeep with fencing. You know, one of the things that we've noticed is that our trails and our waysides and where, you know, the public goes have not been kept to the standard that we would like to see. And so having a position that would routinely perform these types of maintenance duties would be very beneficial to us, especially if we want to increase the, the traffic to our parks, our trails, our campgrounds, those sorts of things. So, so we talked about that. Also with snow plowing, we realized that throughout the county, as we've been talking about sharing services, sharing positions and making sure we're being efficient with our money, it was almost $19,000 that we were spending between snow plowing and paying somebody to do some partial mowing. And so we had $6,000 over at Human Services for snow plowing. We had $1,800 out at Simon's. We had, when we have trucks and we have bodies that are capable of doing that work, why would we be paying additional to have that done? So that was part of it. The other thing is this position, during the summer months would be obviously outside, do a rotation, but we have the question of the campus. And, eventually that is going to be turned over to us. And there's going to be additional maintenance needs, additional lawn mowing, things like that. So in the design of this position, we also asked that they have HVAC and maintenance experience, simply because Randy doesn't have enough staff to be able to cover all the needs that we currently have across our buildings either. And so, Josh and I worked together on formulating this job description to encompass what we knew we needed for the parks and trails, but also to encompass some of that additional backfill that we need for our maintenance area. So that this really is a position that can fill the need where we have it across county departments is really the idea. And overall, it seems like a much better use of our taxpayer dollars to benefit many departments rather than one position benefiting a very narrow scope, which would be the fairgrounds. Josh, do you have anything to add?
Covering all bases with it. Something that's going to come to light is the need for the equipment. We hired this position. What do you guys got for equipment? All equipment's already in place. All truck, sand, salter, mowing, trailer, all that stuff's there. So it's all been set up. It just needs that last key people on it. Do all the mowing and upkeep.
I have a question.
Melissa, yes.
Would this include Ash Creek, which is under land conservation?
I believe so, yes.
Correct.
As far as parking lot, I don't know if we discussed, we're gonna have mowed trails.
The trail, it's
I
full
hope
of,
so.
right?
They're not getting mowed.
Right, that's why.
Mowing and brush clearing, and if there are trees down, that's part of the reason why we got the stump grinder, is to really make sure that we're putting forth the effort to maximize the benefit of those assets that we do have out in the county. And we have the tools, as Josh said, to do so. We've kind of covered all of the basis of what we think this position may need, and we were able to kind of circle the wagons and come up with things to make sure that we could do that. So this position came back rated as a grade G, which is really the same as most highway positions. So it ranges from a starting salary of $23.92 an hour, which is $49,753.60, to $25.47 an hour, which is $52,977.60. And in light of the fact that we're saving almost $20,000 in other areas to pay for this salary, and we're not going to have a full-time probably fair coordinator, or that extra FTE of, well, it was projected at 600 hours or 800 hours. This is really actually a savings overall. So it's just rearranging the way that we are looking at spending those dollars to create some efficiencies.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
A couple of questions. In this description that's here, it doesn't mention plowing in here at all. I don't know if it needs to. It does say maintenance of county.
Winter maintenance.
Winter
Yeah,
maintenance.
it's considered under that, I would
Yep.
assume. And then, the other one for just, I can't remember what my second one was, sorry. I think of it all.
This position reports
To Josh.
through.
Well, and Randy. It'll be,
Yep. Split position. During the summer months, he'd be 100% operating on mowing and trail maintenance, and he'd be reporting to me And then in the winter months, he'd be switching gears, and reporting to Randy for maintenance items for rainy days and some when we can't get anything else done out in the field. The big question and a lot of people bring up is the volume, which the land he has to maintain, mowing and so forth. You gotta understand, a lot of these facilities we have, in the summer months, they dry up. Both of them's a good one, for example, at Elmer Acres. So there isn't a whole lot of mowing you have to do every single week there. And if you take the volume of land that you have to do and you basically stagger it like every other week, you're on different areas, it's easily manageable for one person to be able to mow that. There will be times he will need a second person, which he would just utilize somebody from the highway department or eventually like a temporary position to go cut trees or something down, because that's always a safety issue. But that should eliminate all the questions. Now, the equipment that we purchase, like the plow truck, so on and so forth, that's a 3/4 ton truck that the highway department purchased. So as he uses that piece of equipment, we'll bill him for the hour per bill, that position for the hourly rate of said piece of equipment. So all that stuff, again, is already in place. It's on ground, ready to roll. It just needs an operator.
I have a question. Are you including Pine Valley in this?
Pine Valley is not included in this
Why not?
because they already have existing.
They have two.
I realize that.
And at some point, that may be a discussion that we can have. But at this point, they have not been part of the discussion since they do have two dedicated maintenance staff.
And getting everything plowed, Pine Valley, and how early do some of your early morning people come in? Roughly, because getting the snow plowed there, getting the snow plowed here, so now you gotta get out possibly to the camp. Site. So,
Pine Valley
I'm
has
not saying it's unnecessary. It certainly is. Mr. Chair. Mr. Gunn.
So Josh, the assumption then would be if the mowing got to be too crazy, we would not contract with an outside vendor like we do today for trail mowing and park mowing and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that'll all be taken care of.
The overflow would come from
Us,
highway staff? Okay.
if need be, but I don't really see that being an issue. We do have the capabilities to hire temporary help this summertime help at a limited, 600 hours. We can do that through highway too, to facilitate the addition needed. That does happen.
Okay. You've seen the bathrooms at Rockbridge, right?
Yes.
Melissa?
Will this position, when they work on, like, let's say the trails in Ash Creek, will land conservation be getting a bill for this service?
Correct. Everything, the billing process is all gonna remain the same. It's a change in the whole scope of how we do things. So as something takes place here, then that place.
So it's not saving us money though, because we're still gonna be spending the money. Each department is paying, instead of paying an outside contractor, we're just paying them instead.
We're paying a position that we can utilize more broadly, yes. And the scope of work, I think that will be getting done, we're gonna get a lot more bang for our buck, comparatively to what we've been getting.
And if land conservation can't afford his rates, because that's why it hasn't been getting mowed, because we have very little money left in our mowing fund.
But this position is dedicated to do that, so I don't believe that that's going to be an issue.
Well, it is if he charges us. It charges them though.
But the staff is going to be a dedicated staff, so it's not gonna be an hourly rate of the staff. It'll be the equipment, correct?
Correct.
The equipment hours is what will get billed, not the staff.
I know, but I'm just saying that there's only a very small amount of money left in the fund that pays to mow those trails.
Yep.
So if he bills for equipment use, not staff time, but equipment use,
But the equipment used from the county is significantly amount cheaper than contracting out to other people.
Yeah.
The state hourly rates is far less than what you're gonna pay an outside contractor.
well, we were renting equipment from Simpsons and staff was doing, and conservation staff was doing it.
Most of the equipment comes from Simpsons.
It wasn't very much. It was,
It's, I think, more than what you think it is.
well, no, we just.
When is this position going to start?
Well, we would like them to get them on site sooner than later. We haven't had any snow flying, thankfully. And so, everyone's asking about snow plowing. And I've told them, don't sign any contracts, do it on a case-by-case basis for now. Because we don't want to get into where we're spending, again, $6,000 to get into a contract. Well, this year we haven't had a lot of snow. But, that's a savings that we could see if we don't need that. If we have this position that's here now and we can have them tasked with doing other things, that's wonderful. And that's money that we otherwise would have paid out to someone else.
But My only concern with this, I agree with it wholeheartedly, but we really haven't shifted the responsibilities over to highway because that hasn't gone through our committee yet.
Well,
The reorganization, the restructuring, the reporting to, we haven't done that yet.
we haven't done that yet. This is the wishes of the fair committee, though. This is what they're asking.
Well,
So-
I wish they'd tell us that, and bring it forward, so.
I mean, if you want to wait on it, we were trying to expedite that. Gary's on the committee.
Marty is touching on, either 2 or 3 years ago, what Roger, we asked him, what would you charge to do the, I think it doesn't say mowing at the time, compared to what we were paying this Mike guy. And it was almost 3 times what we was paying a private person. So I kind of have the same concerns also. And money would probably come a lot of it out of Carla's position, I'm guessing.
Well, Junior, that was the position we were paying for, that we are no
I
longer.
like the idea of the highway doing it.
Yeah.
But I do thinking back, and I don't know how, Roger, maybe you have some idea where he come up with the prices, but it was 3 times what we were paying a private person.
I've seen those quotes.
Well, he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So
I will not stand and down another person, but I had a chance to personally review what Patrick had come up with, and I do not believe that those numbers were wholeheartedly accurate.
I'm guessing with the size of equipment, the highway guy, it'll go a lot faster, smoother, I guess, too, than what private people normally have.
Right.
Yeah.
You think, would it be a good idea, do you have any numbers now, John? That you could,
Not recalling, I do not.
okay. I wonder if we shouldn't table it until we could see some kind of numbers.
We have them, so if you'd like to see numbers, we can bring them.
Give Josh a chance to come up with something.
well, we can,
Well, and I agree with Marty. I think we better do it in order, the correct way, get it through fair committee, which is meeting.
I appreciate Josh coming forward and agreeing to this. I mean, that's a big step.
Yeah, because now you're taking on the maintenance of, the more you mow, the more equipment.
The county has not enjoyed that kind of cooperation before, okay? I'll put it that way, and it's nice to see.
Because I believe it's gonna be on the fair,
It is the 24th.
the 24th is when they meet, so one more month.
Can we,
Unfortunately,
That's up to
Or
the
snowplowing, though.
board's wishes. Not mine.
Yeah, that would be completely up to the board's wishes. The only thing I would say as a recommendation is if the snow decides to start hitting this hard, you're gonna have to enter a contract, which is gonna cost you.
So are you saying that they recommended this, but they never actually voted on it at a meeting?
The vote was for me to take it to Carlson Detman and get a grade so that we can move forward. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
when I was trying to give the background on this, I didn't see meeting minutes in the fair folders. I'm not sure what they have been posted yet or when this happened. When the decision.
I can't tell you that.
It would have been at the November meeting that was discussed.
Yeah, and
Both of them up to Kathy Cooper and pay for the extension.
I think we need to hold off on this for at least a month. And I don't know what motion would be in order to do that, but maybe we won't take any action on that at this time.
So we have nobody to do the plowing if we did start getting
You.
it. But we, give Josh the per hour thing until we decided that we started getting snow and have him for backup.
What do you think?
Well, like if it's snow, we don't have anybody to use yet, help with the quota. Be able to just keep track of per hour and what you did. That possible.
But I don't have the staffing to man that trial.
Each person.
Every single patrolman I have is dedicated to the route. I have one spare driver and he covers.
So Josh, you're saying we're gonna be in trouble if we have snow, which I think sooner or later we're gonna have snow.
Correct.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Gotcho,
If we don't, say we're not gonna do this, that means HHS goes out, get a plowing contract, get a plowing contract for parks. I mean, that's gonna take longer than a month. And inevitably we'll open the bids wrong and have to throw them out and do it over again. I mean, this saves a lot of hassle. My opinion.
So the current projected timeline, if this was to pass finance personnel tonight, go to county board for final approval, then it would have to be advertised for 2 weeks, and then by the time you hire somebody, that's another 2 weeks before they can even start. If they gave a 2-week notice somewhere else.
so maybe we better start the process. So I'll entertain a motion.
Can we approve the job description
That's what we're being
pending
asked to do.
action? I would make a motion to do that.
Do I have a second? Mr. Manning. All those in favor of this job description signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then do you need any more direction from us, Administrator Pesh?
I don't believe I do. If you're approving the position and the job description as is.
So she's not gonna be in trouble if she posts this and gets someone hired.
So can we just clarify, we're approving the job description and approving
And
moving
the-
forward with
Well,
the
we
position
didn't,
hired?
that wasn't part of the motion.
That's true,
Right,
it's not.
that's what I just want to clarify.
And I'd
Does it
like,
have to go to county board if it's a new position?
Typically, it would go to county board. They
Yeah.
approve the
Yes.
And
job
then-
description will go to county board.
and I think we need a second motion then directing the administrator to go ahead.
And they can be two separate motions, that's fine. You have a first and a second to approve the job description. Now, if
Yep.
you wanted to move forward with filling the position, then
That's true.
we could do a second motion for that.
I think we need
If that's
that.
what you want to do, okay.
So second motion, second, Manning, Lyman,
To go to county board before you fill the position,
It's gonna have to.
right?
Right,
Yes.
so you're approving now, Tim and Gary approved the job description, and then Gary and Julie approved that hire, but as part of the normal process, it'll go to county board for.
Before you
for-
can post it.
Correct, this is just to take it to county board, basically is what you're doing, like you normally would have done.
all right.
So we all
So,
agree?
Second part of that motion, the second motion, all those in favor? Aye, yes.
Aye.
Carol,
Carol, have we ever had a position that alternated halves of the year on who to report to? Is that gonna work all right? And then, if this position hadn't been created and this way of arranging happened, what were we gonna do with snow for that?
Contracts.
I mean, we must have had a plan in place before this got evolved.
Administrator Pesh,
So we would have just continued with the contracts that we
Right.
had.
Right.
Is what we would have done, with snow plowing.
Right.
As far as speaking to whether or not we've had, positions that have been shared between departments, I don't have the historic knowledge to speak to that, but I have seen shared positions work, very well. I've seen where, as long as people are communicating, and Josh and Randy have a very good working relationship. I think Randy's excited at the prospect of having some additional hands, because as you know, we're always having things break. And lately, we're having more issues out at the campus that he's getting involved in too. So it'll be really nice to have someone on site with those additional skill sets. So Randy's not left running out to fix water heaters and take things apart and put them back together. Having a second set of hands will be really extremely helpful, I think, in that regard.
Mr. Chair,
yes,
so as far as the snow plowing, are you saying we don't currently have a contract?
So
Or we would have to cancel a contract?
they didn't renew their contracts. Many of them can do a case-by-case call-in. So, yep, go ahead and come and do it this time, rather than, you probably get a discounted rate typically if you sign the contract for the season. And if you have them, you call them just the one time, then it's X amount of dollars. So I do believe that they have that at their disposal. They can call and just say, yep, we need somebody here now, if we have an event prior to that. Randy also has his new skid steer. Plus, we do have the truck with the plow on it. So it'll make it much quicker for Randy to be able to go ahead and do human services and here And then, disperse if we need to and assist in the other areas, at least having the equipment now that we didn't have before we just had a skid steer. So, we have a little more capability than what we had before, which is nice.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do you have written down somewhere a database that actually notes how many different contracts we have for these plowings so that you could give us a number? I mean, you sort of said, well, we'll save a little bit here, a little bit there, but I'd actually like to know exactly how much we're saving by doing this.
Okay.
Not before you do it. I'm fine with it, but just for my own information, I think it's important to know.
Yep, and I
Not
did
guessing
get all
or
those
anecdotally
contracts.
thinking we'll save money, but actually knowing that we'll save money.
Yep, no, I do have that in my notes from the meetings. I have all the contracts and how much each of those dollars.
So if you could just share that with us, that'd be great.
At the county board.
Yeah, and then when we pass it to county board, maybe do it at that point.
Okay.
Say this is how much it was costing us in all these different places.
Okay, Josh.
Apologize for taking time on the floor here. Can I make one additional comment over this? One would be the fact that it's not so much, there's going to be a good money savings to this, there is, but the other aspect of that is the level of service. Does anybody here use the rifle range?
No, but I've had some complaints about them.
Okay, so I've taken staff on afternoons where they kind of light and load or getting done early, I send back orders to start cleaning up. For years, that was not properly maintained. There was heaping piles of trash out there. One afternoon, we took over 2 dump truck loads of trash out of their home. Once you actually have a staff person that's assigned to this, you can actually maintain a better level of service for the community.
Right.
Something to think about. You weren't getting that with those contracted services. They were literally. just
TV sets out there, refrigerators, I remember that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Josh.
Thank you. All right, let's vote on the second motion then. Directing the administrator to do her job. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Discussion and possible action, approval of MIS assistant position and job description. Call on. Barb,
So
can you remove your mask for this?
I'm still within my 10-day period. I was recently
We
diagnosed.
can't hear you.
I'll speak up the best I can.
Okay. Thank you.
So in a few years ago, Clinton developed this 5-year plan, which he had shared with you. The plan was always that the part-time assistant would transition into county as they are leased now. This is just the continuation of Clinton's plan to bring this person that works side by side with MIS to equal footing instead of being contracted to be county employed. They won't increase their hours. It will stay at 20 hours a week. The difference really is it is a little more costly doing this because they do come onto our wage scale. Currently, that position's being paid $14.50 an hour. When it vacates, I can't fill it. I get very lucky and I get someone who lasts 6 months.
Who's doing it now?
Quentin Hendricks, he has been very honest with me, his intention is not long-term. And I'm gonna have to fill it again. If we can move it to county, even at halftime, it becomes a much more appealing position. It moves it, putting it onto the pay scale. The position, we had an MIS assistant job description before John was moved into the technical specialist. And it's a grade F, which is in the new 2024 schedule, I do believe 20 an hour. So it's a significant pay increase. Right now, we're paying 7% on our contract to Southwest Workforce Development Board for having Quentin as their employee. It does negate some of the liability of the county, because if we choose not to continue that relationship, we don't have to pay unemployment. We're not on the hook for those types of things. That's the reason that we do contract it. We have proven that we're probably not gonna be able to go down an employee. I don't see that changing. So I think it's time that we made it a permanent position as a half-time position at county.
Question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Luck.
Is it in your budget?
Yes, we
The
did have it
increase?
in the budget for 2024. This is more of this should have been with the other positions that came forward last month. It got missed.
And the benefit, this one will be benefit eligible?
No,
No.
the 20 hours there, not benefit.
Okay.
There would be the possibility of retirement if they last a full year.
This makes sense to me. How about the rest of you? If so, I'll take a motion.
So this
make
is
a motion,
essentially
Mr.
adding
Chair.
a position? Oh, sorry.
No,
No.
It will
Mr. Chair.
eliminate the contract and move it to a county position.
Are you making the motion?
No, I think Mr. Turk had a question.
Oh, Mr. Turk, sorry.
I was going to make the motion, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Turk makes the motion. Do we have a second? Julie Fleming seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Or it's personnel.
Go either way. It's a position that's currently contracted. However, it is now going to be a county position, so it really should go to board.
Okay, I just want to be clear so I don't. It's the next step. Thank you.
Board meeting's right around the corner.
So, well,
Good enough.
okay.
All right. Discussion and possible action. Establishment of the salary for the county clerk, county treasurer, and register of deeds for the 2025 through 28 term. And Derek provided information in the packet.
Yep, so what I put in the packet was just for really reference for elected officials in general, so you have something to look from. But if you look at 11A, that was a resolution that was passed for the last term for the county treasurer, county clerk, and the register of deeds. So I put that on there just historically for you to have a reference point. And then also I just put the 11B would be resolution 22-20, which was again just what you did for the previous elected officials. I tried to think of what document you may ask to review at some point. So I tried to put what I could on there. I didn't put minutes or anything like that, but the resolutions are the wage increases. Now, you'll recall these have to be set for the term before nomination papers can be circulated for these positions. So April 15th of 2024 this year, we can start circulating papers, the clerk record, or sorry, county clerk, the treasurer, and the register of deeds. So we will need to approve this at the March county board meeting, but I'm just bringing this ahead a little earlier. I think in previous years, it's been discussed in February, March, but just because there's new people, Candace hasn't been here, wanted to get this out there so you had time to review it. You don't have to make a decision today, but you know that you will have to decide at your finance meeting in March, and we'll have to approve it at the county board meeting in March at the very latest. Because nomination papers can go out April 15th.
I have a question.
Listen, before your question, you were gonna do a little research and some background as to comparable counties.
Yep. So I did. So I didn't publish. This was just kind of my own digging. I didn't want it's just for my own research, but I can share this with you at another meeting. That's fine. But what I typically do is when I'm copying how we do things with other counties, I really look at counties that have a population plus or minus 2,000 from ours. So you'll recall from the WIS boat services, I did that just to get an idea. Now every county is different, even those of us that are of similar size are also, vastly different in how we do things. But I did compile the 2024 salaries actually for all offices, all elected offices, because we have, us county clerks have the file shares and all that stuff. So it was accessible for me just to do that. But I referenced Marquette County with a population of 15,592, and then up to Lang Lake County, which is 19,491. And so I just for my own benefit to see where we were, put those figures together, and happy to share them with you. If you would like me to at some point, but
Well, I think that would be helpful.
that's what
So,
that's what I have come across with. So I didn't want to put any numbers out there because I
Yeah.
didn't know where we were going with this, and I just wanted to put it out there. We'll have to talk about that because
I
there.
think probably Clint did this. I would guess he put this together.
Put what together?
The resolution that we passed the last time, was he administrator then?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
That was right at the beginning of
yeah.
beginning of his journey here. So
And I think,
correct.
I think he probably put this together and I have difficulty with it, so
I have a question about the clerk position.
yes, go ahead.
My recollection is that we gave a 10% increase to that salary for the financial officer position, and are we going to continue that position now that we're looking to hire a finance person? Or, so does that mean we reduce the clerk's salary, which feels a little weird, but I would think we have to have that discussion.
I would, Mr. Chair, sorry. I would agree that is a discussion that needs to be had, especially in light of the fact that a finance director it's an elusive position at this point.
So we may want
had
to keep it.
one internal applicant, and then we have 2 external applicants, but none that have significant overall county experience. And so, we'd have to determine, do we want to grow someone from within, which in that case, are we better off leaving Derek to do it until we do get a more qualified candidate? So I think those are important discussions to have. And also, even if we were to decide to transition those duties away, I will say that since my coming on, Derek has taken on more of the, I would say, deputy administrator type role in assisting me with attending meetings and facilitating different items because he has the institutional knowledge that I don't have. So I think there are additional duties that have also been put on his plate that I think should be part of the discussion on how we envision the role continuing. And I wouldn't say though that, let's say Derek doesn't get elected, I wouldn't say that would be something I would give to just anybody that walks into that position.
Right.
So that's where it's a little more of a difficult conversation.
Right, because if he were to, we would still be stuck with the numbers regardless of the person that's in the role.
Correct. And so that's where I think this discussion is extremely important. Darren and I have talked about this. I've talked about this with Marty a little bit. I think we have to be very thoughtful. And I also have spoken with Andy Phillips on some ideas on how we can structure and.
I remember having the conversation when this originally came up, where there is a way to write it so that it doesn't follow the elected person.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I do believe we can do that. I know we can do that because I've had that conversation directly with Andy.
We just have to make sure we have our ducks in a row.
We just have to make sure we have our ducks in a row as we move forward, correct?
And traditionally, the county clerk was the coordinator for the county. And that justified Victor's salary, or was part of Victor's salary. Okay, and we know that, well, that's why we have an administrator, but I noticed we do have some department heads here, elected people. You care to make a comment, Jeff? Sue, I'd invite you to. I would like you to, since you're here.
Sure, I've had some conversations with Derek from the get-go on kind of what we're bringing up tonight. And when he shares the numbers with you, I guess kind of what it comes down to that this committee needs to decide, and Candace touched on that briefly, is that you can't necessarily set the wage for the folks that are already here, because at the end of the day, anybody could get elected. However, you do want to set the wage so that somebody who is qualified wants to run or
stays.
And that's
Stays, yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. I don't necessarily feel comfortable advocating one way or another at this early in the process, but that's just kind of my stump speech, is that he laid out the resolutions that were passed in 2022 for as far as percentages of increases, and I think that may be a good start for beginning the conversation.
Sue?
I agree with what Jeff said. I do think that, you know, percentage wise, we should probably be close to what you gave 2 years ago to the people that were running for office. So that's my thoughts.
You're talking about the sheriff and the clerk of court one,
Right.
because they got 7% or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, Senator Pash.
So this is a question that I have for all of you as we're having this discussion, and I haven't asked it yet of Andy Phillips or anyone else. But, so this is the wage that is set. Is there any mechanism so that once people are elected, that this board could then give an additional increase if they so chose? Or are you bound to whatever is in that resolution?
I think we're bound to the resolution.
Okay,
Once the term is set, the salary is set.
Because
okay.
it's a question of fairness. I would have run if I know you were gonna do that.
Okay, the reason I ask is we always, in my prior position, in my prior state, yes, you had to set the salary prior to the term. But then every year on January 1, they would reset the salary. So even if it was adjusted down for that potential of someone new, then after a period of time, you could then adjust that salary based on the qualifications of the individual that you had. And so I just didn't know if there was any similar mechanism in the law here at this point for us to explore. And if not, then yes, it's very important that we look at that overall percentage to make sure that we're doing justice to those who hopefully are reelected and do stay.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, then, you know, it's also, we have to have this figured out because duties then are going to change as well. So when people, there's a salary component to it too. There's also just the organization of how the county is going to, are all those extra, like, where are those duties going to go, right? Because someone's going to have to do them. So there's the money piece, but there's also the organizational piece, that's very important as well. Because if we don't have those duties worked out, when someone's going to take papers out to be the county clerk or whoever, one of our offices, if those duties have to be fairly, statute defines them to a certain degree, but then I believe with me, you folks had me sign an addendum that.
You're the only one though, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we've done that with any other
No.
elected official where we've asked them to do additional duties.
And that was me for the
Financial
finance
officer.
duties because the salary wasn't updated, so.
Chair,
Mr. Carroll.
to the point of making sure we're at least aware of the market and comparing with other counties, I would feel a lot better if we can see what Derek has rounded up. But in addition to those numbers, like you just said, maybe if you can, even with a comment or two, describe how similar the duties are.
Yeah. So the 2020, so I should say my source of information is from all the county clerks completed a survey that said list what your 2024 salaries are for elected officials. So for instance, the average, like I said, this is using an average population of 17,054 people. We're 17,292, so it's pretty close. The average clerk of court for those counties that I listed, right? This is not all of them, but within that plus or minus 2,000 range was the average was $68,275.29. That was the average salary for clerk of court. You have what our
Clerk of court or county clerk?
Clerk of court.
Clerk of court, okay.
The coroner's a different one. Some counties have a medical examiner, some of them don't. So that one's a little different, but I'm gonna just go past that one. It's not relevant to tonight's conversation. The sheriff has, our salary for the sheriff, as you can see in the resolution, is the $90,948.26. An average of those counties I listed was $86,197.34. So getting to the county clerk, register of deeds, and the treasurer, which are the ones in question, right? These we have to decide. The county clerk average salary is $69,012.19. I'm at 83, but that's also because of the extra duties that were on there. So we knew you folks had already said that was going to go away at the next term, and you would, adjust the salary however you were going to at that point. So that one's to be expected, right? If you were to drop that down $14,000, then you're still looking at an average of around 69,000. Register of deeds, average salary in those counties was 66,599. Susan 67,882.95. So they're pretty close, right? That's pretty good. And the county treasurer, the same thing. Richland, our salary 67,882. average for those counties listed are 66,936. So I believe those are relatively average, I mean, they're comparable.
Competitive.
I would think that, again, those are using those counties I listed, so there's probably 50 different ways to come up with an average, but that's just what I compare us to because I'm looking at population. Again, everyone has their own nuances, but that's what my little piece of paper says here that I was just putting together loosely. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah.
And I also think we could potentially send out, I could send out a survey to some of the other county administrators to see what they are proposing
Yeah.
as well for going forward, so that Derek has some option or some of the outlined on the sheet that you will be receiving. But, it's always a good thing to reach out and just see where other people are sitting and what they're looking to do going forward.
We need to do some more work to present to you, so this is just a first.
Yep.
But come February, we better be.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring it up because we do have some duties, there's some bigger decisions to make that I just wanted you guys to have enough time, so we're not pushing it through in March. Like, it wasn't the cleanest process last time this happened, so I want to avoid that, right? And we want to get it right now instead of later, so I will provide this information to you later, but.
So, no action tonight. But we would appreciate all the information we can get.
Sure.
Future agenda items. Well, this one will be continued, obviously. And that's it. Welcome back, Administrator Pesh. And you're in the midst of everything. And welcome in.
Oh, yeah, did you want to just, Martin, Mr. Chair, would you like to just announce him? I don't know if everyone online knows who she is.
Yeah, it's that your last name and
Jimerson.
Jimerson.
E-R-S-O-N.
You want
I can introduce myself.
Okay, Shaponda Jimerson and is our new administrator of Pine Valley. So,
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you.
and this is her first actual meeting. Well, in Pine Valley. Yep. So we're done. If somebody makes a motion. Adjourn, Mr. Bailey. Seconded by Clinton. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
It's really exciting to have